In a tranquil college town in Georgia, a murder shook the local community to its core. 48-year-old sociology professor Marcus Johnson and 19-year-old freshman Tiana Williams found themselves at the center of a tragic series of events that led to the death of one of them. This case raised questions about abuse of power, ethical boundaries in academia, and racial prejudices in American society. Marcus Johnson had been teaching at the University of Georgia for over 20 years. He was a respected expert in sociology, the author of several scientific papers, and a popular lecturer. Married and a father of 2 children, Marcus was considered an exemplary member of the town's African American community. Tiana Williams enrolled in the university in the fall of 2023. She was a promising student from a disadvantaged neighborhood in Atlanta who had received a scholarship to study. Tiana chose sociology as her major, hoping to work with at-risk youth in the future. Their paths crossed in September 2023 when Tiana began attending an introductory sociology course taught by Professor Johnson. From the very first classes, the young woman showed a keen interest in a subject and actively participated in discussions. Marcus noted her abilities and began to pay special attention to her. In October, Tiana approached the professor for additional consultation on her term paper. This meeting marked the beginning of their closer communication. Marcus was impressed by the young student's intellect and ambition, while Tiana saw in him not just a teacher, but a mentor capable of helping her achieve her goals. By the end of the semester, their relationship had gone beyond normal academic interaction. They began meeting outside the university, discussing not only academic matters but also personal topics. Marcus shared his life experiences with Tiana, telling her about the difficulties he faced as an African American in academia. Tiana, in turn, confided her dreams and fears to the professor, finding in him the understanding and support she lacked in her family. Gradually, their emotional connection grew stronger, developing into romantic feelings. However, both had to hide the nature of their relationship. Marcus realized that an affair with a student could cost him his career and family. Tiana feared judgment from her peers and possible problems with her studies. They agreed to keep their relationship a secret, meeting in secluded places away from campus. By the beginning of the spring semester of 2024, their romance was in full swing. Marcus and Tiana spent more and more time together, finding ways to meet under various pretexts. The professor began to neglect his duties, canceling classes and postponing grading other students' work. Tiana, in turn, started socializing less with her peers, devoting all her free time to her relationship with Marcus. No one in their circle suspected what was happening, although some of Marcus' colleagues and Tiana's classmates began to notice changes in their behavior. The situation was becoming increasingly tense, threatening to spiral out of control at any moment. As spring 2024 arrived, the relationship between Marcus Johnson and Tiana Williams continued to develop, becoming more intense and risky. Despite initial attempts to maintain distance, they increasingly found reasons to meet both on and off campus. Marcus began inviting Tiana to supposedly academic conferences in neighboring cities, where they could spend time together without fear of being noticed. He used his position as a professor to secure her participation in research projects, which gave them additional opportunities for interaction. Tiana, in turn, became more and more immersed in this relationship. She neglected other aspects of student life, declining participation in clubs and events that could interfere with her meetings with Marcus. Her academic performance, initially high, began to decline in subjects unrelated to sociology. By April 2024, the situation started to spiral out of control. Marcus' colleagues noticed changes in his behavior. He became distracted, often late for department meetings, and careless about his duties. The dean of the faculty gave him a verbal warning about the decline in the quality of his work. At the same time, Tiana's dormitory roommates began to notice her frequent absences and strange whispered phone conversations. Rumors spread that she was having an affair with someone outside campus, but no one suspected a connection with a professor. In early May, the tension reached a critical point. Marcus' wife, Angela, discovered strange messages on his phone and began to suspect infidelity. She confronted her husband, demanding explanations. Marcus denied all accusations, but his nervousness only heightened Angela's suspicions. Meanwhile, Tiana began to experience feelings of guilt and fear. She realized that their relationship could destroy Marcus' career and her own future. The young woman tried to talk to the professor about the need to end the affair, but he convinced her that they could overcome all difficulties. The situation was complicated when Tiana learned of her pregnancy. This news shocked both of them. Marcus insisted on an abortion, fearing complete exposure. Tiana, raised in a religious family, hesitated, unsure of what to do. Their relationship, previously filled with passion and mutual admiration, now became a source of constant stress and conflict. Marcus became irritable and suspicious, fearing that Tiana might tell someone about their affair. Tiana felt increasingly isolated and frightened, not knowing whom to trust. By the end of May 2024, the atmosphere had reached a boiling point. Angela Johnson began her own investigation, tracking her husband's movements. Tiana, unable to cope with the pressure, started skipping classes and considered dropping out of university. Marcus, realizing that the situation was spinning out of control, suggested that Tiana meet him in a secluded place outside the city to discuss their future. This meeting was scheduled for June 5, 2024, a day that would forever change the lives of all involved and shock the university community to its core. June 5, 2024, began as an ordinary summer day in the college town. Marcus Johnson gave his morning lecture, after which he informed his colleagues that he was leaving for a conference. Tiana Williams took time off from her job at the university library, citing feeling unwell. At 2 p.m., Marcus picked up Tiana in his car not far from campus. They headed to an abandoned hunting cabin in the woods, 30 miles from town. Marcus occasionally used this place for private meetings with Tiana. On the way, they hardly spoke. The tension between them was palpable. Tiana nervously fidgeted with her seatbelt, while Marcus gripped the steering wheel tightly, his gaze focused on the road. Arriving at the location around 3:30 p.m., they entered the cabin. Marcus closed the door and drew the curtains. The conversation began with a discussion of Tiana's pregnancy. Marcus insisted on an immediate solution to the problem, talking about the risks for both of them if the information became public. Tiana, however, expressed doubts. She said she couldn't go through with an abortion because of her religious beliefs and that perhaps it was time to tell the truth. These words provoked a burst of anger from Marcus. The argument escalated into a fierce quarrel. Marcus, losing control, began to threaten Tiana, saying she would ruin his life if she didn't agree to his plan. Tiana, in turn, accused him of manipulation and selfishness. At some point, Marcus grabbed Tiana by the shoulders and began shaking her, demanding a promise of silence. Tiana, frightened, pushed him away and tried to run out of the cabin. In a fit of rage, Marcus grabbed a heavy table lamp and struck Tiana on the head. The blow proved fatal. Tiana fell to the floor, blood flowing from the wound on her head. Marcus, realizing what had happened, panicked. He checked Tiana's pulse but found no signs of life. Marcus spent the next few hours in frantic attempts to cover up the crime. He wrapped Tiana's body in a tarp found in a cabin and carried it to the trunk of his car. Then he thoroughly washed the floor and removed all traces of blood. Around 8 p.m., Marcus left the crime scene. He headed to a remote area of the national park, where he dug a shallow grave and buried Tiana's body. After that, he returned home, arriving there around midnight. Marcus told his wife that the conference had run late, and he decided to return late at night to avoid spending money on a hotel. Angela, still suspicious but tired of constant conflicts, didn't question him in detail. The next day, June 6th, Marcus returned to his usual duties at the university, trying to act as if nothing had happened. However, his internal state was far from normal. He was tense, avoided eye contact with colleagues and students, and was seen several times sitting motionless in his office, staring into space. Meanwhile, Tiana's absence began to cause concern. Her dormitory roommates reported to the administration that they hadn't seen the girl for more than 24 hours. Tiana's parents, not receiving their usual daily call from her, also began to worry. By the evening of June 7th, the disappearance of student Tiana Williams was officially announced, and the police began an investigation. Marcus Johnson, not yet suspecting that he would soon become the main suspect, continued his normal life, tormented by remorse and fear of exposure. Tiana Williams' disappearance quickly caught the attention of local media. The university town was gripped by anxiety and rumors. The Georgia State Police launched a large-scale investigation, interviewing students, faculty, and university staff. On June 8, investigators turned their attention to Professor Marcus Johnson. Several students mentioned that Tiana often spoke with him after class. Marcus' first interrogation took place in his university office. He claimed that he had last seen Tiana at a lecture on June 4th and had no idea of her whereabouts. However, Marcus' alibi for June 5th raised suspicions. The conference he allegedly attended turned out to be fictitious. Colleagues confirmed that Marcus was absent in the afternoon, which contradicted his initial statements. On June 10th, police obtained a warrant to search Johnson's home and car. Traces of blood were found in the trunk of his car, which later forensic analysis confirmed belonged to Tiana. Moreover, analysis of cell phone data showed that Marcus and Tiana's phones were in the same area on the day of her disappearance. Under the pressure of evidence, Marcus began to give conflicting testimonies. He admitted to meeting Tiana on June 5 but claimed they had just talked, and she left alive and well. However, his nervous behavior and inability to explain the presence of blood in the car only strengthened the investigators' suspicions. On June 12, police searched the hunting cabin, which Angela Johnson had mentioned, recalling her husband's strange absences. Despite Marcus' attempts to destroy evidence, forensic experts discovered microscopic traces of blood on the floor and furniture. During an interrogation on June 13, Marcus Johnson finally broke down under the weight of evidence and pressure from investigators. He confessed to the murder of Tiana Williams and indicated where he had hidden the body. On the same day, he was officially arrested on charges of first-degree murder. On June 14, police discovered Tiana Williams' body in the location Marcus had specified in the national park. The forensic examination confirmed that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with Marcus' testimony about hitting her with a lamp. The news of the arrest of a respected professor and the murder of a young student shocked the university community. The university administration immediately suspended Marcus from his position and began an internal investigation to determine if there had been any oversights in monitoring relationships between faculty and students. Tiana's family was devastated by the news of her death. They made an emotional statement condemning Marcus' actions and demanding justice for their daughter. The public actively discussed the incident, raising questions about abuse of power in academia and the need for stricter control. The investigation continued for several more weeks. Investigators gathered additional evidence, interviewed witnesses, and studied the history of the relationship between Marcus and Tiana. It was revealed that their affair had lasted for several months, and Tiana was indeed pregnant at the time of the murder. By the end of June, the Georgia State Prosecutor's Office had prepared an indictment. Marcus Johnson was charged with first-degree murder, concealment of evidence, and abuse of office. He faced life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or even the death penalty. The trial of Marcus Johnson began on September 15, 2024, and attracted widespread public and media attention. The Clark County Courthouse in Athens, Georgia, was packed with journalists, students, and local residents who came to follow the development of this high-profile case. The prosecution presented extensive evidence. Photographs from the crime scene, results of forensic examinations, records of phone conversations and messages between Marcus and Tiana were demonstrated. Special attention was paid to the testimonies of witnesses who had noticed oddities in the behavior of the accused and the victim in the months leading up to the tragedy. A key point of the prosecution was proving the premeditation of the murder. The prosecutor argued that Marcus had chosen a secluded location for the meeting in advance, aware of the possibility of conflict. It was also emphasized that after committing the crime, he took careful measures to conceal evidence, which indicated his sanity and understanding of the gravity of his actions. Marcus Johnson's defense was built on several key arguments. The lawyers tried to present the murder as the result of a sudden emotional outburst rather than a premeditated action. They also emphasized Marcus' previously impeccable reputation, his achievements in academia, and positive character references from colleagues. An important aspect of the defense was an attempt to reduce the degree of the charge from first-degree murder to manslaughter. The lawyers argued that Marcus had no intention of killing Tiana, and his actions were the result of severe emotional stress and fear of exposure. Throughout the trial, Marcus Johnson maintained outward calm, only occasionally showing emotion during testimony from those close to him. His wife, Angela, despite the shock of discovering the affair, testified for the defense, describing Marcus as a loving husband and father who, in her words, made a terrible mistake. Tiana Williams' parents attended every court session. Their emotional testimony about who their daughter was, her dreams and plans for the future, deeply touched the jury and everyone present in the courtroom. After 3 weeks of hearings and 2 days of deliberations, on October 10, 2024, the jury reached a verdict. Marcus Johnson was found guilty of first-degree murder and concealment of evidence. The charge of abuse of office was dropped due to insufficient evidence. On October 17, 2024, the sentencing took place. The judge, considering the severity of the crime and its impact on society, sentenced Marcus Johnson to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Additionally, he received 10 years for concealment of evidence, to be served consecutively with the main sentence. After the sentencing, Marcus Johnson made a brief statement in which he expressed deep remorse for his actions and asked for forgiveness from Tiana's family and all those affected by his crime. Tiana's parents, in turn, stated that while the sentence would not bring their daughter back, they hoped it would serve as a warning to others and help prevent similar tragedies in the future. The case of Marcus Johnson and Tiana Williams left a deep mark on the memory of the university community and the entire state of Georgia, raising important questions about the ethics of relationships between professors and students, as well as the need for stricter control in the academic environment.